Red Cross around the world. Featuring the first Latin American chairman of the League of Red Cross Societies, spotlight on Zambia, and the centenary of the Swedish Red Cross.
At the microphone, Anne Jackson
and George Gordon Lennox.
To begin, we bring you international news flashes about the Red Cross.
Vietnam. The International Committee of the Red Cross, ICRC, the neutral intermediary and guarantor of the Geneva Conventions, is sending teams of doctors and nurses to South Vietnam. The teams consist of Swiss nationals. They will, in accordance with Red Cross principles, care for civilian wounded, sick and disabled, victims of the events. Medical teams were offered by the ICRC to Hanoi and Saigon and to the National Liberation Front.
The Army of the Republic of Vietnam is instructing all its units in the Geneva Conventions, the international laws which govern the treatment of prisoners of war, the protection of civilians, and the alleviation of the miseries of war. At the same time, ICRC delegates are visiting camps for prisoners of war and political detainees. Here too they ensure that the Geneva Conventions are fully respected.
On the Indo-Pakistan frontier, the International Committee has organized frequent meetings between the two National Red Cross Societies to exchange parcels for prisoners of war. As a result, most prisoners in both India and Pakistan have now received food, comforts, and reading matter. On both sides of the ceasefire line, the International Committee is continuing its action on behalf of civil victims of the conflict.
Red Cross is also helping victims of natural disasters in this part of the world.
Cyclone in East Pakistan, the League of Red Cross Societies, International Disaster Relief Agency, came to the aid of 300,000 sick, hungry, and shelterless.
Its member societies of Canada, Iran, the Netherlands, Sweden and Switzerland provided blankets and warm clothing for the victims of the cyclone, which ravaged the rice fields, stopped the production of salt, and ruined the fishermen.
Torrential rains again, this time in Brazil in Latin America, left 80,000 victims after lashing the city of Rio de Janeiro for more than a week. Brazilian Red Cross volunteers and doctors and nurses worked day and night to distribute food, provide shelter and medical care for the victims, and vaccinate large sections of the population threatened by epidemics.
Floods in Turkey, an earthquake in Greece, another cyclone in the Pacific island of Samoa, all brought the Red Cross into action.
For the first time in its history, the League has chosen a Latin American as its chairman, Mr. José Barroso, president of the Mexican Red Cross. He was elected for a period of 4 years by the League's Board of Governors. A young and dynamic industrialist, he is a leading figure in Mexico's cultural and humanitarian organizations. On his first visit to Geneva as chairman of the League, he defined the role of the Red Cross in the world today.
Puedo asegurar a todas las sociedades nacionales que han tenido confianza en mí que haré todo lo que esté de mi parte para que la Liga sea cada día más fuerte mejor organizada, de manera que pueda ayudar.
I can assure all the national societies who have placed their trust in me that I shall do everything in my power to make the League a stronger, better organized institution, constantly ready to come to the aid of national societies who need its assistance, and at the same time an intermediary through which the most soundly established national societies can offer their help to their less favored sister societies.
Yo sé que los problemas que tiene esta organización son enormes, pero tengo la confianza de que tratándose de un movimiento.
I am well aware of the extent of the problems facing our organization, but I'm firmly convinced that within our humanitarian movement, which has rendered such valuable services to humanity, we shall be able to carry out, in the best possible conditions, the tasks which belong to our federation.
Rescuing refugees is one of the numerous new tasks facing Red Cross societies in various countries. In Africa, for instance, Burundi, the League rescued and resettled, in cooperation with the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, 20,000 men, women and children from Congo and Rwanda.
In Senegal, Canadian, French and Swiss nurses are now caring for 50,000 refugees from Portuguese Guinea, and as a yellow fever epidemic had broken out, these nurses undertook a massive vaccination campaign on their arrival. In Nigeria, the Red Cross is helping 2,000 refugees who fled to Dahomey during the recent troubles in the western part of their country. These refugees are met at the frontier by delegates of the Nigerian Red Cross, which has stocks of relief supplies at its disposal thanks to the Swedish Red Cross.
In Zambia, formerly Northern Rhodesia, Red Cross prepares for a similar problem, primarily by setting up medical stores in various key points, which can be transported to an emergency area by ambulance.
Dr. Nalumango, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Health and Deputy Director of the Zambian Red Cross, gives his views on the situation created by the streams of refugees entering the country.
We've got 7 borders, and some of these people are from the countries that are still trying to obtain their own independence. Most of them, I would say, are political refugees from countries like Angola, South Africa, from the Congo. We have quite a number from Southern Rhodesia as well.
So when they come to Zambia, of course, they need milk and food and blankets, and you are thinking of building up this relief depot.
Well, in case of emergencies, really, we feel these depots would be of a great assistance, and we shall at least establish 3 depots. This is an idea which really was first brought by Mr. Bolton from your league, and it was very well received by our committee. We feel that relief depots would be a very good idea in cases of emergencies. They would be used as depots for blankets, foodstuffs, and things like that.
As Dr. Nalumango has mentioned, Mr. George Bolton, a League of Red Cross Society's delegate, spent several months in Zambia. He trained first aid instructors and assisted in the development of the new Zambian Red Cross. Mr. Bolton reports,
It's in a very, very difficult position, Zambia. There are also other problems with Rhodesia, that if the present sanctions that have been put on were to become so severe that they would cause very considerable unemployment, and this is happening already, it might be necessary to repatriate all the Zambians living in Rhodesia, numbering something like 70,000. And so the Red Cross, not only in Zambia but in Rhodesia, has to be prepared to assist these people on their way, because they're not refugees as such. They're just going to be repatriated Zambian citizens, and so they don't come under the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. I went to Rhodesia just before I left to see what the Red Cross there was going to do about it, so that we could tie up our plans to work together with them across this frontier.
Among Mr. Bolton's new first aid instructors, one is now working with Zambia's newly launched Flying Doctor Service.
Well, the Flying Doctor Service started in Zambia about 3 months ago. Dr. Jim Lawless, who organised it, saw that there was a tremendous need for better medical attention for the people deep in the bush. The death rate among children and some mothers was startlingly high, and he was very worried about it. And he started this service with chartered aeroplanes. On the 21st of November, the government put up the money for him to buy his own aircraft. The Red Cross is interested always in getting as deep into the bush as possible, because it's there, I feel, that we can do the most good. And so now we use the Flying Doctor as a vehicle to get our instructors into the bush. One of them, he is now working in the villages, training teams of Africans, say 5 or 6 in each village. They are there, and if there's somebody sick, they are there to bring the people who are sick to hospital. And in this way we can build up a very useful service where the doctors and the hospitals are not available.
A new country, a new Red Cross, new activities. But the Red Cross is by no means a new institution. It has recently celebrated its centenary. In Belgium, France, Italy, and Spain, during 1964, and more recently, Norway, Portugal, and Sweden have marked 100 years of Red Cross activities. The Swedish Red Cross, for instance, is a dynamic and generous national society. Each time international aid is needed, Swedish Red Cross is among the first to answer the appeal. Equally active in helping Red Cross in developing countries, the Swedish Red Cross offers its long experience and its human resources. Mr Olof Stroh, Secretary General of the Swedish Red Cross, presents his society, its past, its present, and its future.
Krig i Korea och Algeriet. Naturkatastrofer, svält, sjukdomar. Rehabilitering av krigsskadade.
What did they do? What do we do? What do we have to do? These were our thoughts when we tried to find out how to celebrate the centenary of the Swedish Red Cross. The first question was easy to answer. The foundation of a modest society with a limited number of members, 1,000, in the year of foundation 1865. The first participation in an international project was in 1870, when the Swedish Red Cross gave support to both sides in the Franco-Prussian War. The first great international assistance was a field hospital to the Balkan Wars in 1912-13. The First World War, with its comprehensive exchange of prisoners, the activities in the Siberian camps where Elsa Brännström became the symbol of humanitarian efforts, and later on the disaster relief to Russia suffering from a terrible famine. The international activities, which had been maintained by such actions as the field hospital in Ethiopia, developed during the Second World War, culminating in the White Bus Action led by Count Bernadotte, rescuing thousands of victims from the camps in Germany. After the war, there has been a growing intensity and frequency in disaster relief actions, as well as in development cooperation with sister societies. Today, economy is stronger than ever. Communications are largely improved, and the network of Red Cross has really become global. We can no more sit down and wait for disasters. We have to work together all over the world to prevent disasters of all kinds, to prepare the relief, and to fortify our common tool, composed first of the Red Cross spirit in all peoples, and then of the Red Cross organizations, national societies in all countries. Briefly, this was what the Swedish Red Cross wanted to make known and work for during its centenary year, which was marked by 6 campaigns for information and activity. Respect for those who made the work of yesterday. Eagerness to find our own way today and tomorrow, involving the whole Swedish people in this great task, and conviction that real universality is a necessity for a true Red Cross movement, may stand as a summary of the centenary year.
You have just heard Red Cross around the world, broadcast throughout the continents.